Hi, Deborah. Hi, Adela. Good evening. Adenola. Good evening. Can you please help me tell your colleagues to join this session that I am here already? I mean, on Zoom.
Hi. Good evening, ma.
Hi, good evening. Can you please help me tell your colleague that the class has started already? You can do that on
All right,
Slack.
ma. All right, ma.
Hi, guys. Good evening once again. I hope you all are doing good and you had an amazing day. But mine was stressful, but we move as it should be now. It's not every day that is meant to be a smooth day, right? Okay, this was supposed to be our week 5 topic. but I did the go-to-market strategy first before this, right? So I'm very sure you guys are familiar with this already because I made mention of watching the recordings, right? And I think Victor made mention of the records being available. So it's going to be more of like a recap at the same time, breaking down some things and then question and answers. So before you do your go-to-market strategy, like the whole thing we discussed in week 6, you have to do this. You need to understand agile methodology. You need to understand sprint planning as well as future prioritization, because it's whatever you have prioritized, it's whatever you have planned that is going to help. That's going to help you as a team function properly. Sorry, hold on. Sorry, please. Sorry. Let me quickly share my screen right now. So, as I was saying, if before you do your go-to market strategy, before you even go to give users your products to sell, these are certain things you need to make sure that you prioritize certain future. You're sending out the most important things to the users. You are also planning everything up with your dev team so that they'll build you the right products, right? So, starting with agile methodology. Have anybody heard of the word agile? I'm sorry, I would not be able to wait for your colleagues today. Like, I have tried my best, right? And if we are just three that will continue this class, So be it. Because I also have things that I'm doing as well, right? To watch the recordings. Okay. So have you heard of the word agile? Have anybody heard of the word agile? Victor, Deborah, Adenola. You guys should talk. Oh. If you've not heard of it, just tell me so that we don't I don't waste time trying to
Okay,
what
so I
okay.
have.
Okay. Do you know the meaning or you just heard the word and then you don't
Uh,
know the
I
meaning?
I have a surface level understanding, not so deep.
Oh, yeah, brief us. Very concise, please.
Okay, agile methodologies are a way of or is a way of building product. Now, this is as regards product management. It's a way of building product in bits. So you do not wait for a step to be completed before taking or before doing something else. You can build them bit by bit by bit and then maybe like piece them together after the whole thing or something.
Okay, good, amazing. At least you shall have slight understanding, right? Deborah and Adenola. Have you even heard of the word before? Even if you don't know the meaning, that's fine. But have you heard of the word before? You can react to an emoji.
Yes, I've actually heard the word before. Yes, I have.
Okay, okay. So let's deep dive into what is agile.
Are we going? Yeah.
Sorry.
Are we going?
Sorry, please. So what's an agile? Basically, we're saying this is a transformed software development, right? By shifting the focus from rigid plans to customer collaboration, rapid iterations, and adaptability. So agile solve the problems of low delivery, lack of flexibility, and high project failure rates by introducing iterative workflow, cross-functional things, and then continuous feedback loops. So today, Agile is not just a software development. It's not just used for software development. It's also used for business, marketing, manufacturing, and even government projects to enhance efficiencies and innovations. Okay, so if there's one word I want you to understand for this is the fact that um there is sorry, excuse.
Okay, I think it's network. Is anyone here? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Victor. Hello, Victor.
Oh,
I can hear you.
okay.
I think it's a network.
All right. So just wait for her to come back.
All right.
Uh, I'm surprised we're just three in here.
I'm also surprised after the old deliberation and all of that.
Uh, and let me see now. Okay. Three other people responded to the poll, but they are not here.
Okay.
So just this. Okay, she's back.
I'm so sorry. I think my network is really acting up, but I just got like a stable position. Let's see how it works. Sorry, please. Okay. If there's one thing I really just want you to understand about Agile is the fact that you are getting your customer involved in your planning. Like the team is not just doing it alone, right? You are getting customers' feedback to your development process. That's one key takeaway I want you to understand about Agile. Another key point I want you to understand about Agile is the fact that it is not a rigid process. Like today, you can be working on something. If customers say we want, let's say they want Google sign up, and you don't have Google sign up, and let's say you're working on your notification. If 1,000 users are saying that they want that Google sign up, you will leave that notification you are doing, especially if your team is not plenty, you guys are lean. You will leave whatever you are doing, and then you would work on that Google sign up that your customers are requesting for. So it is more like a rapid iteration. If customers are saying they want this, you need to quickly and fastly give it to them. That's one thing I want you to like. The two key takeaway I really want you to take from Agile, and the fact that if anybody is working on that new thing that the customer wants, you need to be able to adapt to all of these things. So it's not going to be a situation whereby they ask you to do one thing and then you're now getting angry and be like, but you asked me to do this one now. Why are you not asking for another thing? Like in Agile, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I know so.
It doesn't work like that. Do you get? You need to adapt to whatever situation they give you. Do you get? Okay. So the problem before Agile, software development was dominated by traditional methodology. So this traditional methodology, we're talking about waterfall method. So this approach follow a linear and sequential process, and it consists of a distinct phase. So the phases for waterfall methodology is requirement gathering, design, development, testing, as well as deployment and maintenance. Like that is just the process. Unlike Agile, don't worry, we're going to talk more about the phases of Agile. But for waterfall, they follow these five phases like strictly. They cannot be doing design and be doing requirements gathering. It's not possible. They cannot be doing development and still be doing requirements gathering. No. If it's Agile now, you can be doing your development and you can still go ahead with your requirements gathering. You can be doing your testing and still go ahead with development. But for waterfall, everybody is doing one thing at a time. So what's the challenge with this waterfall method? So there's lack of flexibility. One phase has to be completed, right? Even if it's difficult, that phase has to be completed before you go to the next phase. And it is very costly to make changes, because if you make mistake now and you want to now like do another thing, of course you have to spend money, right? So it is very expensive. So the lack of flexibility is one of the challenge for waterfall. Another one is a long development cycle. Unlike Agile, now that you can build things in a very minimum time. I like to use Piggyverse. Piggyverse built that app we are using in 2 weeks, right? In 2 weeks, they were able to deliver the product. The Piggyverse you are seeing today was not what they have. They just built something lean which was I want to help people save money without going to contribution woman or without putting your money in asusu. That was the only thing they came out to do. And then they built something so simple that was giving people value. And then over time, they decided to add something. So you need to be able to give out something very little. Another challenge for Waterfall is the long, okay, I've mentioned that, delayed customer feedback. So one thing again for this is if customer give you feedback, you cannot even iterate it because you have to wait to finish. You have to wait and finish whatever you are doing before you can um help your or do whatever your customers are saying. And then we have high failure rates too, right? So many projects were abandoned mid-development due to changing requirements or budget overturn. Yeah, so most of the things that happen in waterfall, sometimes they are not even completed, right? Because some projects may be abandoned. Some said they'll tell you, oh, they don't have money to continue the process anymore. So they will just have to like abandon the process. So by the 1990s, software development teams were struggling with slow delivery, inefficiency, and high failure rates, which prompts to the birth of Agile. So Agile started in 2001. The origin is very simple. I think this origin part, people will have to go and read it, but let me just quickly read this one. In February 2001, 17 software developers and thought leaders, they generated a skick result in Snowbird to discuss a lightweight development framework. So this is how it works. They realized that the traditional um methodology was so rigid and it is very slow, right? So they needed something that people can easily adapt to. So from that meeting, they were able to now create the agile methodology, which laid the foundation for agile development. So these are some key milestones for how agile methodology has really evolved, right? So firstly to them in 1986 where we had the better scrum, and then in 1990s we also had the ways of iterative models, and then in 2001, which is where the agile methodology was established, and then in 2000 there was a wild spread of adoption for scrum and Kanban, and then in 2011, which was where agile methodology just sort of like scaled through, right? Okay, so this is like another proper definition of what agile is. So if there's one thing I also did not tell you is this is a thing that project managers do, right? But it is a nice to have for product managers to have this knowledge, right? Because most of these things, honestly, is just product and project managers that get to do them. But if you are working in a startup organization, you would have to do it. They will not employ project manager for you to do. You will have to be the one to get all of this done. So um Agile is basically a project management and product development approach that emphasizes on flexibility, collaboration, and iterative progress. So it was designed to improve the efficiencies and responsiveness in software development. Yeah, but you just wanted to build something like very fast, right? You have an idea, people wanted to build this thing like very quick. So that's why they came up with agile methodology. So it has widely been adopted. Now, it is not even done in, it's not just software development industries now that are using this methodology. Businesses, finance, marketing, and manufacturing company decided to, adapt to agile methodology. Let me give you an instance of how manufacturing company use agile now. So these swaps that we have in plastic bottle, like the mojito and everything, I had already seen those items, that drink in Lagos, right? But it took like extra 3 to 4 months before that drink came to Kaduna. Did you know that Coca-Cola tested, they iterated, like they did agile methodology for Schweppes, because they released the product to a set of people to test it, right? I'm very sure people were giving them feedback, and then they were iterating based on that feedback. And then when they noticed that people were now satisfied with the product, then they started like taking it, like, I don't know, but I can speak for Kaduna. And then they brought it to Kaduna, right? Because I even had a friend that works with Coca-Cola, and I was always asking him that, why is this Schweppes not in Kaduna? Because I've seen it in Lagos. And then he was like, oh, it's a gradual process, and we'll get it. They're just testing it. Then I was not really like a software person. I didn't understand in depth of software, but it all makes sense to me now, right? So there are 4 core values for Agile, right? So the first one is individuals and interaction over processes and tools. Yes, unlike waterfall that they are so stick to, follow this process, use this tool. In Agile, they value individuals, right? And then interaction. They want people to talk about whatever they are doing. They need people to give us they need feedback on whatever the team is doing. And then working software over compressive document. This is very true. They just want something that work. They don't need a detailed information. Let me give you an instance. So I'm a kind of person that like to write a detailed product requirements document, right, for my dev team. But one thing that I don't get to notice is, in as much as I like to write so much details, these guys don't really like so much bulky documents, right? So I noticed that they were always working, like whatever they were doing was not tallying with what I want them to do. Right. And then when they had a talk with one of them, I was like, why you people not always obeying whatever is in my document? And they said, honestly, they just want a concise information, right? The most important thing is to get this thing to work. So if they can get something concise, they can do the work. So you can see that in Agile, honestly, nobody really cares about your documentation, in as much as documentations are important, but they don't really care. We just want to see the product work, and it is working perfectly the way it should be. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. I already said this in the beginning of the class when I said one thing about Agile is your customers' feedback are also important. When you're building this product, it is not just your team that will be giving opinions. Agile is so open that they allow you get your customers' feedback into the process, and then responding to change following a rigid plan. Like I said, you can be working on future A. If customers come and say they want future B, you will leave that future A and do future B. You get so, and everybody will move freely. Nobody's going to be angry, like, oh, but I'm not done. Because the way we are wired mentally, like human beings, is we always want to finish one thing before we go to another thing. But sorry, in the software development, it does not work like that. You can leave that thing here, except if you are Flash that can finish that thing today, and then tomorrow you will do future B. But if you know that future A is going to take like 1 month for you to do, like for you to round up, you will leave that thing and then go to future B. So why do we have to even use Agile? I don't think I still need to do this explanation, because I have really like portrayed on the importance of Agile, right? But why do we have to even choose Agile over waterfall methods? So Agile follows a linear phase-based approach that can make projects inflexible. Okay, why Agile, right? So the traditional method like waterfall follow a linear phase-based approach that can make projects inflexible and slow to adapt to change. So Agile, in contrast, allow team to, this is what Agile will do for you. You would respond quickly to market demands and customer feedback. And that's why you see today, if customer report about something, you're seeing that the development team are always responding fast. Yes, they're responding fast because they are following the Agile methodology process, which is helping them respond quickly to whatever customers want. And then it helps you deliver value incrementally. You don't deliver the value all the value at once. No, you just do it small by step. And you get, and then you are hereby reducing weeks. The weeks of doing everything at once, you reduce it because you're just giving the value little by little, and people are getting the impact. And of course, if you are seeing from your little value you are giving to people, right, it's going to definitely improve the team efficiency. Another thing Agile does to the team is to enhance collaboration between cross-functional teams. So this one, everybody is working together, business, sales, product manager, designers, developers, everybody is doing the work together. We are having stand-up meetings to explain what is happening, what you are doing on your own end. Is there any blocker from your end? Like, you just discuss all of these things, helping you um build the product properly and understand or remove any blockers if there are any. And then it's improve customer satisfaction through continuous and delivery iteration. Of course, you're giving customers whatever they want, so they will definitely be satisfied. So who would use Agile? Who are the best set of people to use Agile? Honestly, me, I'm going to tell you, everybody is supposed to use Agile, like in this day and age. But people that mostly use Agile are startups. So if you're looking to iterate quickly and find product market fit, then you need to use this framework. Software development team needing to release frequent updates. So you have to use Agile. And then large enterprise project managers and business teams can also make use of Agile. So um Agile, like we said, is like we have really discussed, is like a very broad philosophy, right? And within it, there are different methodology provided that provide specific frameworks for implementation. So some of the most popular Agile methodology are Scrum, Kanban, Lean, Extreme Programming, and Skilled Agile Framework. So you can say that Agile is not a tool. Agile is not a tool. It's not any software product. No, it's just a framework that software developers or development team or startup or project manager use to get work done, right? Okay, so if we say it's a very broad philosophy and we say these are the things involved in um these are the frameworks in the methodologies in Agile. So the first one I say Scrum, right? So what is Scrum? Scrum is a structured framework that organize work into a short cycles like sprints, usually 1 to 2 weeks. It includes defined rules, which are your Scrum Master, your product owner, and development teams, and then ceremonies. So ceremonies can stand up, daily stand up, sprint planning, sprint reviews, and perspectives, right? So it's just for you to just organize your work within a particular period of time. You get people to do some certain things, and then with certain ceremonies, which they are all in a bracket. And then for the Canva, I think we have some images that can help you understand these things. Okay, so for Kanban, I said it's a visual management method that's focused on continuous flow and reducing work in progress limit, right? It uses Kanban board to track taxes in different stages, to do in process and done. I don't know if any of you have used Jira, even Notion. I think when I don't know if you have used Notion too, where they said something like where you can move your taxes from to do to in progress to done, all those columns. Even I think Excel do that now. All of those things, it's it's Canva, right? Because it's just for you to just see a visual presentation of what you are doing, like manage whatever you are doing, right? So that you also know if something is moving or something is not moving. Okay. And then we have Lean. So Lean was inspired by Toyota manufacturing principle. So Lean focus on eliminating waste, optimizing process, and delivering the most value with the least effort. Yeah, I gave instance of Piggyverse. I said they released their product in 2 weeks. What Piggyverse did was a lean. They used lean methodology because they just give out something that was giving so much value and then require like a very minimal effort, right? And then we have extreme programming. So this is just a methodology emphasized for engineering best practice like test driven development, continuous integrations, and then peer programming to ensure high quality software. So this ones, you as a product manager, you don't really developers that actually use this framework. And then we have SAVE, which is Scaled Agile Framework, a methodology designed for larger enterprise, enabling Agile to be implemented across multiple teams while maintaining um, alignment and collaboration. Okay, so now we've spoken about Agile. Let's talk about Scrum. What is Scrum? Scrum is an agile framework used to develop, deliver, and sustain a complex product. So it is iterative and incremental, enable team to deliver value frequently, to focus on transparencies, inspections, and then adaptations. So it developed primarily for software developers, but now rapidly used across industries. Yeah, honestly, one thing I just want you to understand about Scrum is you want transparency in whatever task that the team is doing. And that's why we have things like daily stand ups. What's your daily stand up? The daily stand up is to know what each team is doing. You're not going to assume that one person is working. No, even if you give a task to product manager today, the project manager, if they're doing their daily stand up, they will ask you, this task that you said you are doing, where are you on the task? If you are not done, you tell them you are not done. If you are you're almost done, you tell them you're almost done. If you've not started, you will confess there. And I'm sure you don't want to be the product manager that will be going to stand up meeting every day and you've not done anything. So it just puts you on check. It's like an inspection thing where everybody just wants to like know what you are doing and then gets you to work, right? So why do we even do Scrum as a whole? Basically, we want to encourage collaborations and self-organizations, right? We want people to still be able to do things like I don't have to be following up with you like every single day. I don't have to do that. I just want you to come and tell me every single day about this particular task that you are doing. Oh, this is the progress. If there's a blocker, and that's one thing with using this whole Scrum method. If there's a blocker, you're going to say it there. Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot do this thing right now because this happened. And then whoever can assist you will quickly assist you in removing that blocker so that you get the job done. um Another reason why we also use Scrum is we want faster delivery through short time box iteration. That's why we have something called sprints. So sprints are usually done between 1 to 4 weeks. So you define the sprints, right? Because you tell somebody that I want my a job done in 1 week, 2 weeks. Of course, that person has to deliver, right? The person will not want to um not meet up with the tax. And even if the person did not meet up with the tax, at least you are aware of why the person did not meet up. Because the person in your stand-ups, the person will tell you why, right? And if the person cannot even do it from that stand-up, you can give it to another person. So you can see how this whole Scrum thing helped tax to be delivered like very fast in just a short time. So, and why Scrum again is to adapt to changing requirements with continuous feedback. Yeah, because if you are consistently having like your stand up, you're always collaborating and the rest, key people will always know what customer wants, right? And then you can be able to adapt to any requirements or anything that your users are saying they want. And then it provides a high visibility into the project progress. Yeah, like everybody can see what is happening on the project, like every single person can see. It's not the one that marketers will not know what is happening because they do not understand code. No, because everybody's going to be in that meeting, and then you will definitely see the stages of the product. Like marketers can even tell you, even if they're not the one building the product, marketers can tell you that, oh, this is the stage where the product is. Customer success can also tell you this is the stage where the process and the product is. Do you get? So it just makes visibility like very high. So how does Scrum even work in the first place? We have a lightweight frameworks that divide works into a time box, right? 1 to 2 weeks, but it is usually done in 2 weeks actually. So Scrum empowers team to self-organize and then work collaboratively. Another thing Scrum does is it uses a structured roles, events, and artifacts to ensure efficiency. And then Scrum also aim for potential shippable product increments at the end of each scrum. So when you are done with one particular task, you easily know which one you are doing next, right? So this is just like a brush up for like Scrum. So in Scrum, right, if you want to do Scrum, there's something there are certain concepts in Scrums where we have the team, the epic, the user stories, and then the roadmap. I know right now this English, this whole thing, people are just wondering what is happening here. When you start working on like software product, this is going to be like you will relate better. Don't worry. So one of the concepts for Scrum is team. So what is team here? Team is like a high level strategic areas on objectives that guide product development. So the purpose of a team is the teams is to align team around broader business goal. So an example of a team will be we want to improve our user engagement, right? And then another concept of Scrum. So team is first, Epic is second. So what Epic does is just like a large future or initiatives that need to be broken down into smaller tasks. So the purpose of your Epic is to group related futures stories to maintain a structured and manage complexity. So example of this would be revamp onboarding experience. Don't worry, I'm going to give you a relative example. I thought these all examples are together, but they are not. And then user stories basically are small, specific, actionable work items that describe users' needs. So the purpose of this is to define what needs to be built from a user perspective. So it is written like this: as a user, I want to this is that. So yeah, we said to receive a welcome email after signing up, so that some people will say so I feel, or some people will tell you so that um I feel connected to the product. And then your roadmaps, of course, basically are high level timelines or plans that outline the directions of product for development. So over here, you can have a quarterly roadmap showing a plan, futures, and releases. So let me give you a relatable example now. So let's say you are working with a mobility as a startup, right? The epic would be one, you want to improve you want to, or let's just say, since it's a high level, you want to help people get to, you want to help working professional get to their destination at a cheaper price, right? So the epic here, see now, you see how big that thing is at a cheaper price, right? You don't want them to spend too much money on boats and the likes. Now you can see that that's a very broad um objective. So the epic will now be with for example, it's going to be offer, let's say you want to there'll be like a future or let's say a section that will be offer a ride, right? Or passengers will be able to request a ride and then driver would also be able to offer a ride. So now this offer a ride has to be broken down because it's not just offer a ride. Some certain things has to go inside offer a ride. Seat selection has to go in. Um, time people want to embark on that journey has to go in. Um, let's say money they will pay also has to go in. Um, seats they don't want people like the driver, for example, seats they want to be unavailable. Let's say it's carry the ride sharing app, for instance, all of these things. So you can see that this offer a ride now I've broken down into smaller taxes. I've broken them into some certain features, right? Up to like 5. So now these 5 things, I will now create like a user stories for them so that the developer building would understand it from like a user's perspective. And so because of I have listed all of these things, then I will now have to make a roadmap to outline the directions of product development based on these teams. Because team can be now I just said you want to help users reduce costs for transport. That's just one objective. Another objective could be um I want to I want users to earn money on our app. How would they earn? Maybe when they refer other people. That's another objective. So you can see that there are 2 different objectives now. But this objective has to be breaking down into epic, right? Which is like one large feature. And then that large feature has to be broken down into certain things. Oh my god. See proper example here, sis. Okay, so this one here, the theme here is to increase a website traffic. So now this website traffic will now have this team can have 2 epic. It can even have 1 epic. It's possible for it to have 1 epic. Sometimes it has 2 epic. Like this one here by the left has 1 epic. This one by the right has 2 epic. So once you understand the epic now, you will now write user stories. So your user stories, which I told you, you're breaking them into smaller tasks, right? So each of those scenarios I give now will come up with user stories where you write your user story. So an epic can have just 1 user story, an epic can have 5 user stories, an epic can have 2 user stories. So whatever based on that user story that the epic has, each of that user story will now have a tax attached to it. How do you want things done? So let me say, for example, seat selection. No, let me not use seat selection. Okay, let me just use seat selection now for this ride sharing app. The user story would be as a passenger, I want to select my seats for my trip so that when I embark on my trip, I know where to sit. That is one user story. So the tax now for the developer, which is the acceptance criteria. So this tax and acceptance criteria, it will be the tax will be after a user has made payments, display the seats they picked when booking a ride. You get that is one. If there's another thing I still want to do, let's say I can now still drop another acceptance criteria and say if a user has not paid, has not made payments, do not display seat position to the user until the user made payment. Something like that. So these are taxes that are attached to that user story. So here's a Scrum cycle, right? We have retrospective, we have reviews, we have implementations, and then planning, right? In planning stage, that's where we have the sprint backlog. We also have like the product backlog, and then in the implementation stage, that's where we have like the completed products, uh, and then in the viewing stage, that is where we need to do like the daily stand up, right? Because you need to know what people are doing. So, so it's even listed yourself. So we have like the product backlog, yeah, which is like a prioritized list of requirements. I think I am guilty of this. My backlog are not prioritized, right? But the normal way a backlog should be, it should be prioritized, right? And then sprint backlog basically a list of selected tasks and user stories for the backlog, right? From the product backlog. And then sprint planning basically is select items for sprints. So sprint planning is where, let's say you have a prioritized list already of what you want your team to do, and then you've now selected the tasks and user story. Let's say you now have your sprint backlog. I say, okay, well, sprint backlog is basically if this sprint finish, if sprint A finish, sprint B is coming in, sprint C is coming in. Each of these sprints has what has to be done, like what needs to be done. Then sprint planning. Before you will start your sprint B, which is like on the sprint backlog, you need to have a meeting with your developers, your team, to select items for the sprint, because some items might make sense to you and whereas they don't make sense at all. So it's in that meeting, that planning section, that everybody will now talk and tell you, oh, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. All of those things happens in sprint planning. And then once you have now, after the planning, that's where you all of you will now come to conclusion and say, okay, oh, let's do sprint B. Because honestly, you can do sprint planning and then there's a sprint B backlog. After the planning, they'll tell you, no, let's not do sprint B, let's do sprint C, or let's do sprint D. Do you get? So it's at that point you guys now make a final conclusion and be like, okay, we are doing this. And then we have sprint executions and implementation. So once you have selected whatever you want based on the planning, then the team will now work on the tasks daily, right? Which team works on tasks daily, yeah. And then daily stand up is basically a quick progress update. So if the team is working on a particular task, they need to come and give updates every day for like 30 minutes. Basically, what stand up is what are you working on, and what's the progress. That's the two answer they need from you, nothing else. If you have a blocker here, you can now say, oh, I have this blocker, I'm unable to do that. Is all. Nobody's asking you for any story. Nah, it's what are you working on, what is your progress on the job, that is all. So that is where they do like the daily stand-up. And then sprint review. So after you do this daily stand-up, your sprint review will now be demonstrate completed work. Let's say now after the daily stand up, you guys are done. Like every day, everybody's coming to give updates, and then in 2 weeks' time, you just review your sprint. What has been done, what has not been done, because based on that stand up, you will know what is done and what is not done. So based on the ones that are done, you just be ticking them done, 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 and then before you know it, it could maybe the team will have finished the task. And then the sprint retrospective. So what this one is all about is reflect and improve for next sprint. So yeah, you can say, oh, I didn't like what happened in this one, or any issue you just want to just reflect or talk about, or you want to review so that it does not happen in the next one. You have it in your sprint retrospective session. And then we have the scrum rules, right? So um roles in scrums are product owner, scrum master, and then development team. I'm sure you guys have heard of scrum master. I'm sure you guys have heard of product owner. And I think we discussed differences between, did we? Between project manager, product manager, and product, the program. I don't remember. But basically, what a product owner does is they will define the vision, prioritize the backlogs, and present stakeholders. So most times, product managers are product owners because you own the product, right? So you have to keep on defining the vision to your developers on what to do. You prioritize the backlog to let them know this is what you need to build because you are speaking to your customers, right? If you're in a big company like Google now, there's difference between product owners and product managers. So your responsibility is to just to manage the backlog, communicate with customers, and ensure business values. Um, Scrum Master. So Scrum Master will facilitate the Scrum process, removing blockers and ensuring agile principles. Coach team, remove independence, and then promotes agile mindset. So all these meetings that is happening here, instead of you as a product manager to be handling it from like the sprint planning, all of those things, it's the Scrum Master that will handle everything. It will not be you. Your own is to just come and tell them your tasks to just the way developer do their things. And then we have development team. So development team also is a cross-functional team that builds the product here. So these are people that will build the product, right? So their responsibility is self-organizing, collaborate, and then deliver high quality products, which is your software products. So these are the Scrum ceremonies. I've actually like spoken about it from this session, so let's not even repeat it again. So these are like the key five Scrum events: sprint planning, daily stand-ups, sprint execution, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. The key Scrum artifacts here is your product backlog, your sprint backlog, and then increment. So this increment are talking about the completed usable portion of the product at the end of the sprint. Yeah, like the finished work. But what is sprint in the first place? Sprint is a time boxed iteration of not more than 4 weeks. If your sprint, if you are building a project or a objective for more than 4 weeks, it is no longer a sprint. Best people even do sprint for 2 weeks, but we just give or take 4 weeks. But the best of the best is 2 weeks, right? So if you are building a product for more than 4 weeks, it's no longer a sprint. Yes. So it's a time box iteration of not more than 4 weeks, whose goal is to deliver a potential shippable um product increment, right? The scope is fixed, but deliverables can evolve based on feedback. Yeah, we can say this is what we want to do, but things can change based on feedback we are getting from customers. And there is no sprint without results. If you are doing sprint and then every 2 weeks there's no results, then you are not building, you're not using it is not long, it's no longer a sprint. So what's the definition of done for each sprint that you do? So a shared understanding of when a task is considered complete, right? A shared understanding of when a task is completed considered complete. So for every sprint, there is a defined, some people do QA checklist. There's a defined thing that if this thing meets all the requirements based on this acceptance criteria, then we are done with this product. So it ensures consistency, quality, and readiness for deployment. So the benefit of Scrum is why team use Scrum. Of course, improve adaptability, faster time to market, better team collaborations, increase customer satisfaction, and then high product quality is released. So, what's the best practice for successful Scrum? So, you need to clearly define roles and responsibility. If you want to practice Scrum today in your team, you need to clearly define roles, who will do this, who will do that, and then you need to give them their responsibility clearly. So key sprint goals is realistic and achievable. You will not pack 20 tasks and give somebody and expect the person to do it in 2 weeks. It is not possible. And I think that's one thing that our startup is really failing at, honestly, because they just expect you to do 20 things in 2 weeks. And whereas that's not possible. And that's why most of the time they don't even follow the whole sprint Scrum framework. Another best practice for a successful Scrum is to encourage open communications and feedback. Yeah, you have to talk. You cannot be in the meeting and keep quiet. It's not even possible because you need to let people know what is happening with whatever you are working on. And then use sprint retrospect for continuous improvement. Yeah. So after each sprint, let's call a meeting. This meeting now, it is not just planning, it is not just daily stand-up. I want to get feedback. Did you enjoy the previous sprint? Is there something you need in the previous? It's just basically to review and reflect based on the work they've done. You know, when you even do this kind of things, Seth, it helps the team to even feel good about the work they've done. You're not just bombarding them with work, right? And then limit work in progress to prevent overload. Yeah, don't pack 5 items and put them as work in progress. No, work in progress can for each task is only one. You cannot be having a designer cannot be having 5 work in progress. It's not possible. It's only one thing you will do at a time, right? So limit your work in progress. So what are the challenges and benefits and best practices for this? Common challenges is common lack of proper product backlog refinement, right? So why people don't do these Scrum processes because they don't refine their backlog properly. Difficulty in maintaining team discipline and focus. Yeah, because the team can easily get distracted, and once they get distracted, it's very difficult to sort of like bring in their focus, right? Because today you do sprint and then next week CEO will just come and tell you, come and do this one. It happens in startup only. Don't worry, if you work in big organization, all these things will not be happening. And then unrealistic expectations for stakeholders. Exactly. Like CEO can just come and tell you now that I want this. Something that's going to take you 1 month to do or 1 week to do. They want it in 2 days. It's very unrealistic, right? And then because of that, people don't practice Scrum because the CEO said don't even have patience to allow somebody to do one work for 2 weeks. They don't have that patience. They want people to do the tasks in 2 days, in 1 day. So that's why a lot of companies, especially startups, don't practice drums, right? And then resistant to change from traditional management. That's if it's people coming using the waterfall method, they would okay, resistant to change from traditional management. Like I said, we are so used to one thing at a time. Let's do this job one thing at a time. We are not humanly, we don't know how to adapt to things. I mean, we're not, let me use the word flexible. We're not flexible, right? Where we can just easily switch. It's only few humans that are very good in doing that. Okay, now we have sprint planning. Before we go into sprint planning, any question from anybody? Any question from anybody? Please don't keep quiet. Give me react to that emoji or something. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I have a couple of questions.
Couple.
First of all, this Scrum thing, I be agile. Yes. Is it possible? Because let's assume it's a new product, right? And they have not been nobody has seen the product ever. And but then you mentioned
Wait, sorry. It is not possible.
okay, that's like I okay, maybe I didn't explain it properly. So you want to build something and you have not released any version yet to users. I
Okay.
think this one is better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you how because while you were speaking, you said agile is an iterative process where you get to consult the users or get to learn what users want and work based on that. Now, if you have not released the product to the users, how do you get to understand how they would react to the product? Is it different? Is it like something you do during the research or where you are communicating with the users? Or there's a special way they do it? Because normally if you want to like get feedback, maybe you'd have them use the product first, but since it is still in production and has not been done, so how can you get your users or intended users to give you feedback on something that they, they have not seen or have not handled? That's one. The other
Can I
method
answer your
you
first question before we go to the next one?
Okay.
Is that fine?
Yes, please.
Okay, so agile, it's not all about. That's why I made mention of two things I want you to like do key takeaway for collaboration. So when I say customer feedback, let me use the word collaboration. So collaboration will be with your customer, it will be with your team, to be with your investors, right? So it's not only tied to customer. Sorry, it's not only tied to customer. It's tied with collaboration can happen between your customer, it can happen between your team, it can happen between your investors, it can happen between your anybody. But collaboration is like very important, and then iterative progress, something that you're just doing small to like get real results. So um you've done your research, right? Because before you release any product, you want to do your research. You've done your research. Based on this research, you build something. This thing that you built, this is how the agile will work. You give it to users. It's not like users will come and look for you because they don't know you. And your product is new. It is you that will go and look for users to use that product. No, users are using the product. There will be 1001 ideas on your head for iterative progress in for that product. But you would not want to do it without the collaboration of your users. And that is where you would now ask for feedback. So your users will now give you feedback based on the small value you were able to deliver to them. I don't know if you get my point.
Yes, I do.
So do you understand now that the collaboration now is not only based on customer? It could be with your team, it could be with your investors, and then customers. Because at first you will not get this feedback from your customers. You only made a research. And it's based on that research you built something. Now you, based on whatever you built, you will now give it back to users. Do you understand?
Yes, yes,
So was I able to answer your question?
yes, yes. So now I now understand that the iterative and the back and forth does not have to do with just the users. The
No.
communication it's been done within your team with stakeholders. Yes, so I understand your point now.
Matters, exactly. People that matter with the product.
Okay, so the second question. What's the second question now? Okay, the other method you mentioned, waterfall. They have heard about it one time too. I want to ask, is it possible to have both waterfall and agile method working together? Because if you, I mean, from what I understand, the waterfall method, you have to finish one thing before you move to the next.
Yeah.
Now, for when you are doing, I mean, we cannot start, or whoever is going to design cannot start designing without having feedback from users or without learning what users want. right? So it's safe to say, okay, is it maybe it's possible we can have both waterfall and agile work together, because I may be wrong, but then if the rest of the processes like design and development can only come when you've gotten like feedback of first, or when you've done like first research and have gotten feedback from users. So it is only then you get your designers to start designing, and then even when the designers do their thing, they have to like finish up the design before coding. So I'm not sure. Is there a way? So the question basically is there a way waterfall and agile can work together?
Honestly, I don't think so. Right? Because before you even for agile now, you can do your half baked products and give it to people to use, and then they will give you feedback. But waterfall, you cannot deliver that half baked products to them. Not to talk of users are now giving you feedback based on your half baked products. So even for you to even know which is working, which one is not working. Open we saw today. Open did not come as banking service. They did mobility, transport, logistics, right? When they came up with this the fintech product, they do not say, "Oh, we need to build in all our future, the loan, the cards, the bills, the everything." No, they didn't. They didn't come out to do that. Maybe they only said one thing: "I want somebody to transfer money from here to this place, and I want person to get it instantly," which they did at first. And then based on what they did, people now started giving them feedback. And that's one thing I want people to understand about product. Products start to get very, very interesting. Especially if you start with a product, like you start from the beginning of a product. It's very interesting because you will see the struggle at first. But when users start using these products, ideas will not even be coming from you as a product manager. It is users that will be bringing all the ideas for you, because it is users that are really using the product and it's what they want you will do. Waterfall, you cannot even wait for that one. If you release that version A now to them, now feedbacks will come from different places. Waterfall will now say they want to do planning, gathering, all of those things one by one by one. They will not, after they've picked in this one, they will not want to shift their focus to another thing. So it's like very, very rigid. So it's not possible. It is not.
Okay, okay. I I still have one last question.
Okay.
The waterfall method, or the waterfall method, hold on, the agile method, where do you start counting it as agile? Is it when you have given the users a particular, or when, yes, or maybe when you have given users a particular thing to play with, or maybe I don't know how to ask this question. Yeah, but from what I've learned, or from what I understand, I think if waterfall is something that's um where something has to be completed before another one starts, it means for the very first process where you have to do research, that process has to be completed. Or is it possible to carry on with other things while doing research for a particular product that has not got into the market yet?
Okay, if I get you correctly, you're asking like at what point do agile starts? Is it
Yes.
the point where you are not waiting to build everything that is in your head? You just want to do small and deliver it to people to give them value. You started agile. The point where your stakeholder come today and say, let's not do this one. Let's leave A and do B. You started agile. Remember, I told you agile is not a tool, it's just a framework that we adapt to that helps we human like sort of shift our focus from like rigid plans, right? So the moment where you start collecting feedback from users, that's another agile method that you are doing. I don't know if you get.
Okay, I understand you now. I understand you now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody? You're welcome. Anybody else? Who's so we have sprint planning. This slide is very long. I'm sure people can see the number 68. Okay, let's quickly round up by 10. We have to complete class on Sunday. So sprint planning. Ah, we've actually been talking about sprint, scrum. It's like a detailed breakdown of how you plan your sprints, right? So your objective basically is to even as in even me, I'm tired. I had a very long day today. Okay. So the objective for sprint planning basically is to define what will be accomplished in the next sprint and then align the team on that priorities. It's like your objective for sprint planning. You want to be able to accomplish, you want to be able to define what you want to do in your next sprint and then allow everybody to be aligned to those priorities. So these are the steps by step for sprint planning process. One, you have to review your product backlog, right? Once you've done that, then you set your sprint goal. Oh, what do you want to do? Do you want to improve your onboarding? Do you want to improve user engagement? Whatever you have defined, you will now ensure that there's alignment between your business needs and your technical feasibility. Because honestly, there are some tasks that you will just write. It is possible technically, but business sense, it doesn't make sense. Like business wise, it doesn't make sense because your company is going to be losing money. So business people will tell you, no, please don't do this. So that is why it's very important when you're making your sprint goal, everybody is seeing it. The developers are seeing it, your business team is seeing it, your business team is giving you that feedback. Like, no, we cannot make this like this. If we do this, we'll be losing money. Because the developer don't know that part. Their own is to just build, right? And then developers will also give you feedback on certain things. Another step for sprint planning is to select and commit to user stories. Yeah. So remember, I told you from your epics, you write your user story, which are like the smaller tasks for epics. Um, Capacity and effort estimations. So you need to know who is doing this, who is doing that, right? And then you should be able to define the effort estimation that each person that is capable of doing the task will need. After that, you need to be able to define, you need to define definition of done. For each of these tasks that maybe the designers, developers are doing, you need to let them know that you this is when you are able to do this, then you are done with these tasks. So for example, let's say piggy bank future now on Piggyverse. the piggy bank definition of done will be when a user is able to save money or yes, be able to save money over a certain duration of time, input the date and time they want the money to be removed, automation to be done, all of those things. Like you just need to properly define done for a developer so that they know that if they go and first start their code and that code will not give them that result, at least they know that, oh, I am not done with this job, right? And then final reviews and sprint kickoff. So now you've planned your sprint. Once you plan sprint, you need to run daily stand up, right? Daily stand up is where you want to see people's progress. You want to identify blockers and keep the team aligned. I'm not going to go deep. I've really spoken about this in the previous slides. But these are the best practices for daily stand-up. You need to keep it short. Honestly, daily stand-up that is passing 30 minutes. Even me today, I did one stand-up meeting today. Oh my god, that stand-up meeting was 1 hour. And made us like, what kind of stand-up is this one? So it should be very short, 50 minutes max. Remember, I told you there are certain just 3 questions each person is supposed to answer. So your stand-up could be physically, it could be virtually, right? But the most important thing is to get everybody focused, right? Each team member answer 3 questions. What did I accomplish yesterday? Because daily stand-ups are meant to be done every day, right? What did I accomplish yesterday? What will I work on today? And then are there any blockers preventing progress? So the person will come and tell you what they did yesterday, the person will tell you what he's working on today, and then if there's any blockers preventing his progress, he would also say it. If there's none, he will just say no, I don't have any blockers. Do you get? So product manager, I know when you guys become like a product manager, I beg you're already a product manager, sir. When you're handling your team, don't keep them in that place for 1 hour. That's very bad. And then Scrum Master removes blockers and facilitates discussion. Yeah, if there's blocker, so your Scrum Master is going to look for how to improve and remove it for you so that you'll be able to do your job on time. So you're going to be using tools. So for your daily stand-up, you'll be needing tools like Jira, Trello, or Kanban board to track progress. Like what this picture is, like this image here, to do, doing, and done. So doing is usually in progress. So you can use tools like Jira. So on Jira, there's a Kanban board there, so you can use it, right? And then Trello too, you can use it to like just to track everybody's progress. So there'll be developers, designers, team, and then you just see their progresses. So what are the common mistakes to avoid in your daily stand-ups? Turning it into a status report, like no, it's all about collaboration, it's not updates for management. Yeah, because when you start doing updates for management, that's when the meeting just starts to get like very long. And then diving into problem solving, you don't solve problems in daily stand-up. No, if you want to solve problems, set another meeting for that. But daily stand-up, we are just here to talk about what I accomplished yesterday, what will I work on today, what and if there are any blockers. So diving into problem solving, save detailed discussion for after the stand-ups, not in the stand-up, please. And then your retrospect. So this is basically to reflect on the sprint to identify what went well, what didn't, and how to improve. So how do you set this up? How do you do your sprint retrospect? So one thing you want to do is to set the stage, ask engaging questions. If the sprint were a movie, what gene will it be, right? Just basically to just know what is like the your key takeaway. Did you enjoy this? Do you have anything? Share honest feedback for us to do better. That's just the thing. So you need to set the stage. Also, if you don't set the stage, your team will not talk. That's one thing. They'll just keep quiet and be looking at you. So call their names individually and ask them. Gather feedback. So use format like start, stop, continue. What should we start? What should we stop? What should we keep doing? Gather feedback. And then we have maths, clad, and glide. So how this one works is how the team member feel about the sprint. That's basically what it means. And then there's something called 4Ls. You can gather feedback. So these are different ways you can gather feedback. You can also use 4Ls, which is what you liked, what you learned, what you lacked, what you long for. You can gather feedback from people using this format. Identify patterns and root cause. So group similar feedback and then prioritize key issues. So if people have similar things, you will know, you will see it from like the feedback that each people have worked on, and they are going to prioritize key issues, the ones that are more familiar. You would work on them, and then agree on action items. So assign ownership and deadline for improvement. Keep action items small, specific, and achievable. And then you want to close positive notes. So celebrate win and appreciate team effort. So after every stand up, every sprint, tell them, oh, thank you so much. We're able to achieve this because of your efforts. It just makes people feel very special. Don't just close things and then, oh yeah, let's move on to the next sprint. No, appreciate people's effort. So the common mistake to avoid is to focusing only on the negative, celebrate wins to and then lack of following through an action item would lead to on improvements like over time. So I think this one is for your consumption. I don't want to even read it so that people will understand. But over here you would understand the difference between a product manager and a product owner, right? But like I said, if you are in a startup, my darling, you would have to do all of them. If you're in a big company like Google, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, they separate this job. So please, I want you guys to go read and properly like dissect this thing. Difference between a product manager and a product owner. But yeah, this is it. While the product manager focus on the long-term vision, market strategies, and customer needs, you see, long-term vision, market strategy, and customer needs, the product manager is more involved in day-to-day execution, backlog management, and ensuring the team builds the right products. However, in most product agile team, the product manager also acts as the product owner. Did you get? Okay. So Kanban. Now the Scrum is under Agile. Kanban is under Agile because these are methodologies under the Agile. These are frameworks under the Agile methodology. So now we've spoken about Scrum, right? So now let's talk about Kanban. So what's Kanban? Kanban is just a visual workflow management method used to optimize work efficiency, which focuses on continuous delivery rather than a fixed length iteration. So it helps team limit work in progress to improve flow. It was developed by a lean manufacturing or widely adopted in software and other industry. The whole to do, done, in progress. These are all Kanban visual workflow management methods. So basically, you just want to help people to continuously like working because we can all see what is happening. If you have the to do this whole visual workflow now, everybody can tell who is not working and who is working, right? You can easily cite it there. So why do we even have to use Kanban in the first place? So it optimizes efficiency by reducing bottleneck. It enhances workflow visibility through visual boards. Like I said, you can see somebody that is working, you can see somebody that is not working at all. So you can see the one that you can fire, like sack the person. I can see the one that you can see the one that deserve promotion, tips, all of those kind of things. Because the team are literally working and then it is very visible. It also improve responsiveness to changing priorities, right? You can see and then encourage continuous improvement over time. So the core principles of Kanban is one, you want to start with what you do now, right? And then you agree to pursue incremental changes, and then you respect your current roles and responsibilities because everybody, you designer cannot go and be doing the developer's work. It's not possible, right? And then encourage leadership at all level because anybody can make improvements. So this is it. So some stages they'll say backlog to do, in progress, testing and done. But the main thing for Kanban is to do, in progress and done. But because of people don't want to just put things in done, people might say, oh, they want to test this thing, so they have to like create a stage for it. So how does Kanban work? We said it's a visual work. It visualized work using a Kanban board. It limits the numbers of tasks in progress. It's focused on workflow optimization rather than time boxed um, iteration, right? And then encourage continuous delivery of value. Because if you see so much to do, or let's say on your to-do column now, there's like 20 to do, and then in 2 weeks you're just in only two to do, and like 18 has come to done. Of course, you feel very encouraged that there's a continuous delivery of value, right? So what does a Kanban workflow entails? Backlog. So we have backlog there. We have to do, we have in progress, we have review, testing. So these are certain ceremonies that happen um in Kanban, right? One thing you need to do is you need to first understand the board, right? You need to understand the board. So it involves a visual representation. Why is the slide looking like I'm just repeating whatever I'm saying? Okay, so the key Kanban metrics will be your cycle time, the time taken to complete a task. You also need to define that. Your lead time, time from request to completion, because you need to tell. That's why we do like the whole sprint planning and everything, because in over there you would have defined the time to complete a task. And then the throughput, which is the numbers of tasks completed over a period of time. So if you can also track all of these things, right? Imagine you give somebody like a 2 weeks sprint and the person completed the task in 3 days. Is that not amazing? So you can easily track tasks, like you can see the numbers of tasks somebody completed over a period of time, and then of course you will be wow. And if possible, you want to even promote the person. I think that's where all of this promotion, all these things that we hear people do, promotion and the rest, because you're seeing like your visible work that you are doing, like it is there. Everybody's seeing how you're managing the task. So you deserve to be awarded, right? And then your camera will definitely help you limit work in progress. I've also said this. You cannot be doing 5 things at the same time. So over here, you get to see what the person is just working on. And then we have continuous improvement. It says encourage small iterative change, yeah, because you can have like 5 to do, and then over time you're just doing small, and then you're just moving on the columns so when they get it done. So you can use retrospect and feedback loop to enhance efficiency and then empower team to take ownership. Holy shit. Okay, I think we'll have to just stop here. Canberra roads, right? We'll just have to. Okay, go ahead, Victor.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know my hands were still raised.
That's fine. Okay, we'll have to stop here and we'll continue on Sunday at 3 p.m. Thank you guys for joining. So before we round up the class, any question from anybody before we call it a night? Any question? Please now, when I ask people any question or something, if you don't have, just react with an emoji. Like you can use the down emoji, the thumb down emoji. If you have a question for me, if you have a question, you can put like the thumb up. If no questions, then you can just use like the thumb down. So at least I don't know that you guys are even following the get. Okay. So we all understood today's class. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so one question from when working with Agile, is it because I've seen that a lot of people, a lot of there's been so much opinion around Agile, and is Scrum the preferred or the industry standard way? That's if you want to work with Agile, with the Agile method, is
No,
using Scrum.
all of them. You use all of them because whatever thing that happens in Scrum, you need to now. What happens in Scrum is you guys are just defining certain things. Let's say the epics, the the team, the user stories, the acceptance criteria, all of those ones in Scrum, right? But you have to plan these things that you have said that you want to do. That is the sprint planning. Now you have planned this thing. You want to see how the work is being done, which is the Kanban board. Because the Kanban board is going to tell you, based on all these taxes now you have shared, you're seeing the one that developers are doing at the moment, the ones that designers are doing, the ones that they are not doing. So like all of them work together. It's not like you leave one over one. No.
Okay. I get you now.
Alright.
And you mentioned Jira and which one that one again? Which
Trello.
uh,
Trello.
yeah,
So these are
Trello.
all you can use for your for this. These are all tools you can use.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I think we can call it a night, right? Thank you guys so much for joining and see you on Sunday afternoon, same time. All right.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much, Mo. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you too.